Hi, I'm Liberty. Welcome to Before and Afters at Century Farms. So the visualizer tool lined these up all straight, but the way they really go is like this, with certain corners facing towards the middle in sets of 4. So I took a screenshot and now I am cutting them so that I can visualize my ceiling. I am really glad that I made this template because if I hadn't, it would have just been impossible to figure out what panel went where. I marked with a blue dot on my screen where the chandelier would go, but when I went to start cutting the panels, I still had a problem. I was not sure what was wrong until my husband helped me see that I needed to invert my drawing because of my perspective, and that made all the difference. So I had to invert it from the left side to the right side, and then everything matched. Okay, it's 10:30 at night, and I'm getting ready to stop, and this is going to be my last panel. But I wanted to show you how smoothly this first coat is going on. I have done almost 20 panels, and I've mixed a little water in with my paint to minimize the brush strokes. And it's just going on so smooth. I do plan to do a second coat, but I just wanted you to see this. So I keep going in one direction, even though I've thinned the paint. And this brush is doing such a good job. I go around the edges like this. And I just keep going back and forth. I have such a good brush. It's making this work so easy with this paint. And everything's going so smoothly. I just had to show you this. If it starts getting thicker, just add a little bit of water. The temperature has to be just right. I've been turning a heater on and off out in the garage because it's about 40 degrees outside. And I can tell a difference in how fast the paint dries and how it's applying, depending if it gets too cold. And when it's warm, it dries pretty quickly. But I just wanted you to see how smooth that is. Let me try to zoom in here. If I put this down. Isn't that so nice? I'm using a glove on this hand as I touch the panels to study them. But wonderful paint, a wonderful brush, and it's making this job so much easier for me than if I had frustrating materials to work with. So after I figured out my pattern, I started putting it in before I painted it because I needed to know which ones to cut. And while I had my graph, I wanted to be absolutely sure because around these windows, I had to cut off a corner. And you can see which way the panel goes so that the middle meets like it should with that fan pattern at the 4 corners. And so I needed to cut off that square and only, that corner. I need to cut off only that corner of that panel. And on this panel, I needed to cut off the fan corner. So as I went, I knew exactly which ones needed to go where. So far, I've had enough and not made a mistake. This panel does not have the clear coat on it yet. So with my eye, I can see what looks kind of like a linen pattern, because my first coat, which was paint watered down a little bit, I was sure to go in one direction to minimize the brush strokes. And then my second wash, I went in exactly the other direction. And can you see that very slight pattern on there? It gives it just a bit of a linen or a grass cloth look that I didn't know it would. And yet it's perfectly smooth. And I am loving how this turned out. It's December 9th, 2022, and I finally have all of these panels painted and ready to go up. These different sizes have been bent on their edges so that they will fit in the drop ceiling grid. And so I'm starting over there where the step stool is. I just put one in, and I'm gonna work my way around. And once I have those in, I'll be able to put in the rest. The ones along the perimeter also had to be trimmed because they were not full size. So they've been trimmed and bent and painted. And I'm so glad to finish up this project and get these panels all out of the garage. So here we go. So I was just laying these up in the grid without clipping them down. My husband was going to help me with it later. So I was leaving room for us to get up there and clip it down while getting the panels out of my way, out of the garage. And you can see the old ceiling fan still up there. He spent several evenings after work clipping them in and then changing out the light fixture. We decided to cut this panel in half to fit it around the light fixture. I found this stained glass ceiling fan on overstock.com, and I will link it in the description below. Of the 3 ceilings that we installed, this one ended up being the easiest because of the grid fitting the clips. You can see how he's having to reach all the way back for that back panel to clip down. You can tell the clip is all the way down by the snap that you hear. Okay, the ceiling is finally installed in the living room, and I've got everything all straightened up, and I'm ready to show you what it looks like. Turn it around here. With the new light, I'll zoom out so you can see it better. so happy to have this project finished. And I'll just walk you around a little bit so you can see the rest of the living room. If you've been following me for a little while, you know that I like to cover my television. So that's that. This is a fork tree that somebody made for me. And I also have a flower, a fork flower. And I just really enjoy those. I made the recliner covers, and I can link to that in the description below. The kitchen is to the left there, and I'm standing in the mudroom doorway entry. Really glad to have our new ceiling fan that I ordered from Overstock, and I can link that in the description below. So you've seen all the process of how I painted these tiles. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to answer them. I will put still photographs and other details in the blog post. Here's the other side of the room, facing out to the piano room and the front door. The next thing I want to do in this room is get a new rug. But with a dog and a cat and kids, I'm not sure what the point would be. But I've had this rug for quite a while, and I would also love to get some new furniture. We have had this furniture longer than we've been married. I had the double recliners at my apartment, and he had the couch and the single recliner already and brought it to our home. So maybe one day. But it has served us well. And I hope you have enjoyed seeing my living room all finished, especially that ceiling.